Welcome to the audiobook In the Light of Destiny. Let's go ahead and start the story. Chapter 1. The television hummed softly in the background, some late-night talk show that neither of them was really watching. Kira had her legs tucked underneath her on the left end of the couch. A half-eaten bowl of popcorn balanced on the armrest beside her, her dark eyes drifting in and out of focus on the glowing screen. Leah was sprawled across the opposite end, one leg dangling over the edge, her bare toes occasionally grazing the worn carpet below. The lamp in the corner of their shared living room cast a warm amber glow over everything, softening the edges of the mismatched furniture, and the stacks of headshots and resumes piled neatly on the coffee table. It was the kind of quiet evening that settled in after a long, defeating day, the kind of quiet that didn't feel peaceful so much as it felt like exhaustion wearing a disguise. The living room was small but lived in. There was character in the faded floral throw pillows that Kira had found at a second-hand shop 3 months ago, in the string of fairy lights Leah had tacked above the window, in the motivational quotes they had each written on sticky notes and pressed to the wall above the television like a collage of desperate hope. Your time is coming. Keep pushing. Stars don't shine without darkness. They had written those notes on a good day, back when good days came a little more easily. These days, they read them more out of obligation than belief. This was the life of the Bellamy House, a 4-story building tucked along a side street in the heart of the city, just far enough from the glamour of the entertainment district to feel like a world away, but close enough that every woman within its walls could smell possibility on the wind when it blew from the right direction. The building was home to a rotating cast of dreamers, actresses, models, singers, dancers, and everything in between. Women who had arrived from small towns and big cities alike, with portfolio bags slung over their shoulders and fire burning behind their eyes. Some had been here for months. Others, like Kira, had been here for years. The front door opened with its familiar creak, the sound they had all long since stopped noticing, and Emma walked in. The moment she stepped through the doorway, both Kira and Leah looked up from the television. They did not need to ask how her day had gone. It was written all over her face, in the way she let her bag drop from her arm to the floor without caring where it landed, in the slow exhale that left her lips the moment she crossed the threshold into the warmth of the apartment. Emma was beautiful in the way that real women are beautiful, not the polished, constructed kind of beauty you saw on billboards, but something more natural and luminous. Her grey eyes were sharp and expressive even when she was tired, and right now, they were filled with the particular frustration of someone who had spent an entire day running into walls. She kicked off her shoes by the door and padded across the carpet in her socks, dropping herself onto the couch between them with the dramatic exhaustion of someone who had just returned from battle. Hey, any luck today, Emma? Kira asked, muting the television out of courtesy. Emma turned her head slowly, staring at the ceiling for a moment before answering, as though the words required more energy than she currently had available. No, she said flatly. Then she seemed to gather herself, sitting up slightly, because Emma was never one to be defeated quietly. I went to 15 places today. 15, Kira. I wore my good heels and everything. She gestured toward her abandoned shoes by the door. Everyone was either out or in meetings. Every single one. She let out a short, humorless laugh. This search is getting on my nerves. I have been to every entertainment agency in this city, and I always get the same answer. The producers are in meetings. They are out to lunch. There are no auditions available right now. Please leave your headshot at the front desk. She made a face, as if those headshots don't go straight into the trash. Leah, who had been listening with the particular empathy of someone living the exact same reality, flopped dramatically from the couch into the cushion beside her. I get the same answers every single time, she said, staring up at the ceiling. Every time. Why is this so hard? The question wasn't really directed at anyone. It was the kind of question you threw at the universe and hoped, against all reasonable expectation, that the universe might answer. Emma straightened again. There was something unbreakable about Emma, something that reasserted itself even in the moments when she seemed closest to crumbling. "Because the passion we have for this won't let us give up," she said simply. It wasn't a speech. It was just a fact, stated plainly, the way you might state that the sky is blue. Leah let out a long, slow sigh, the sigh of someone who appreciated the sentiment while being absolutely exhausted by the reality of it. "I guess so," she conceded. "I am just ready for my star to shine. Ready to get paid." She sat up and rubbed her hands together with theatrical relish, and despite everything, Kira and Emma both burst out laughing. It was a real laugh, the kind that came from somewhere genuine and warm, the kind that could only happen between people who knew each other well enough to find humor in shared misery. Emma shook her head, smiling despite herself. "What happened to passion?" "I still have passion," Leah said with complete dignity. "I just also have rent. And passion doesn't cover rent." She paused. "Speaking of which, Kira, what company are you hoping to sign with? You've been the quietest one lately." Kira, who had been listening more than she had been speaking, reached over and took a handful of popcorn from the bowl, chewing thoughtfully before she answered. This was characteristic of her. While Emma burned bright and Leah sparkled, Kira smoldered quietly and steady and deep, the kind of person whose feelings ran too far beneath the surface for anyone to see the full measure of them without looking carefully. "I really don't care," she said at last, and she meant it in the most resigned and honest way possible. "As long as it's not a porn company, I'll sign with anyone at this point." She set the bowl down and pulled her knees to her chest. "You two have been trying for a year. I've been trying for 4 years. 4 years, Leah. When I do get signed, it will be worth every minute of the struggle. Every rejection, every waiting room, every front desk receptionist who looked at me like I was wasting her time." She said it quietly, and the room felt the weight of it. The three of them sat with that for a moment. 4 years was not a small thing. 4 years in this city, 4 years of doors that didn't open, 4 years of holding onto something that most people would have let go of long ago. Kira had come to this dormitory carrying more than just a portfolio. She had come here carrying the need to escape something she never spoke about directly, something she carried in the careful blankness of her expression whenever her past came anywhere close to the surface of conversation. Emma reached over and put her hand over Kira's. "You will be a star soon," she said. There was nothing performative about it. All the struggle and the hard work will be worth it. I truly believe that. Leah glanced between the two of them and softened, because underneath the humor and the brazen ambition, she was as tender-hearted as either of them. All right, I believe it too," she admitted. Then, because she couldn't help herself, she added, "But I will still be very happy when I am getting paid." The laughter returned, lighter this time. The kind of laughter that was a release valve that let some of the day's pressure escape before it built into something harder to manage. Kira looked at her, something between amusement and exasperation on her face. "Honestly, Leah, do you intend to struggle through sore feet all day, sitting in lobbies for hours, just for staff members to tell you the director is in a meeting after you've waited since 8 in the morning?" Leah tilted her head, considering this genuinely. "No," she said. "I want the suffering to be worth something." "Doesn't seem right," Emma murmured, almost to herself. She was staring at the turned-off television screen, her grey eyes distant. "Why does it have to be this hard? There has to be an easier way to get noticed." A small, loaded silence settled over the room. The kind of silence that had something specific living inside it. "There is one way," Kira said, raising an eyebrow. Both Emma and Leah looked at her. Leah pressed her lips together and shook her head firmly before the sentence had even fully landed. "No thank you," she said. I haven't given up yet." The words carried enough weight that no one pushed further. The entertainment industry was full of shortcuts that weren't shortcuts at all. They were traps dressed in opportunities clothing, and all three of them knew it, even Leah, who joked about money and passion as if they were interchangeable. Emma stood up from the couch with the decisive energy of someone who had decided not to let the evening slide any further into defeat. "Well," she said, smoothing her blouse, "I am hungry. Let's all go get something to eat. My treat." There was a momentary protest, there always was, because none of them liked the reminder of who could afford to treat and who could not, but it dissolved quickly, the way it always did, because Emma had a way of making generosity feel like an invitation rather than charity. They gathered their things, pulled on their jackets, and filed out of the apartment with the comfortable ease of people who had done this 100 times before. The side street outside the dormitory was narrow and lit with the amber glow of street lamps, the city's noise drifting in from the wider avenues nearby. They walked close together on the sidewalk, their footsteps falling into an unconscious rhythm that spoke of months of shared routine. The bar on the corner was the kind of place that was warm without being crowded, friendly without being loud, exactly the kind of place three tired dreamers needed at the end of a day that had tried its best to knock them flat. They settled into a corner booth, ordered food, ordered beers. The conversation settled into something gentler than it had been back in the apartment, the way it always did when there was food on the table and something cold to drink. It was the particular grace of friendship, the ability to walk through the hard parts of a day together and come out the other side still capable of laughing. It was Leah who circled back to the harder question, the way she always eventually did, because for all her humor, she was also the one who said the things no one else wanted to say. "Kira," she said, folding her hands on the table. "You said you'll give it a few more months. What will you actually do if it doesn't work out? If you don't sign with anyone?" The table went quiet. Emma stilled her bottle halfway to her lips. Kira stared at the rings of condensation on the wooden table surface, tracing one with her fingertip before she answered. "I don't know," she said finally, in a voice just above a whisper. Then, lower still, as though she was saying something she had only ever said to herself before, "But I would rather die than return to my old life." Neither Emma nor Leah asked her to elaborate. They didn't push, didn't pry, didn't fill the silence with well-meaning questions she wasn't ready to answer. They simply sat with her in it, the way real friends do. And for the moment, that was enough. They finished their food and split the last 2 beers among the 3 of them. The walk back to the dormitory was quieter than the walk out, but not uncomfortably so. When they returned to the building and climbed the stairs to their floor, the night had softened around them, the way nights sometimes do after you've made it through them together. Emma and Kira headed toward their shared room. Leah paused in the living room, dropping her jacket over the back of the couch, kicking off her shoes for the second time that evening. The fairy lights above the window cast everything in soft gold. Her phone rang. She picked it up, glancing at the unfamiliar number on the screen with the casual suspicion of someone who had given her number to too many agency receptionists to expect anything good from an unknown caller. "Hello," she answered. End of chapter. Thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe and like the channel.